Hey, everybody. Welcome to HorseShow360 podcast. I'm here joined with my co-host, Mike Belisle again. It appears he's still in Terra Nova. Going to be there a lot this winter, so that's pretty cool. I'm excited to head down there as well. This is episode 12, and this is a cool episode because it's like, let's talk about where we get our cool ideas from. And I think that Split Rock really always tries to stay ahead of the curve on cool ideas that hopefully can attract people to our events and people can have fun with. It creates a more exciting atmosphere, keeps everybody engaged, keeps everybody, happy to come to our horse shows and also happy to work at our horse shows. And I think that that's a big factor in why people choose our horse shows versus others, maybe. So where do we get our cool ideas from? I mean, a lot of it goes on in here, yes, but there's way more than that than just my random ideas. I think the first question we got to ask people, Mike, is like, you always have to consider why exhibitors and what exhibitors are going to like and need first.
You got to read their minds
from an amenity. And it's an important point to note that, like, we take this really seriously. Like, we're constantly trying to come up with new ideas, new things to keep it fresh. There are other shows and venues out there that do a good job at this too. And I think there's so many other events out there that copy us like crazy. I mean, let's be real.
The best form of flattery?
It for sure is. And we laugh about it all the time. We're like, these guys can't come up with their own ideas at all. They got to take other people's ideas, whether it be other shows or art, but they literally do. And they base their entire business.
It doesn't bother me because I think that's nice. And then you just keep be innovative, right?
50-50 for me. It bothers me a little bit, but I also get it. But I'm also competitive. So I guess that makes, you're competitive too, but it's just, anyway, I think it's important to note that we take this really seriously. Like, we're like constantly coming up. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m., we have 10, 15 people on our calls, on our team every single week. We do team meetings that they're basically going over everything and
brainstorming and trying
brainstorming sessions and coming up with new ideas and how to tweak these different scenarios that people are going to like out of a horse show and everything. And it's such an important factor. And that's everybody. Like, everybody on our team can come up with unique and cool ideas. But I do think that it's our experiences and it's our knowledge of seeing different things that are the biggest factor into where we come up with cool ideas. Right? Like, we went on a trip, Mike, you and I, and another fellow that worked for us in the past, went on a trip. What was that, like 6-7 years ago now? And we went on a trip in the summer. It was so cool, for about 10 days in Europe. And we went to every major venue and horse show that we could possibly go to in Europe. It was so cool.
Yes.
I mean, how many different things did we see? And we're talking cool. Like, we went to, there were a lot of shows going on at the time.
Yes.
Both traditional shows, new shows, modern shows. We went to all of it. We went to all these venues. And just to get experience, see how they're doing things differently, why they're doing things certain ways, and what cool ideas are they offering that we can implement here in the States. And honestly, that's probably one trip I've got. Like, I've competed all over the place, been to horse shows all over the place, but I think that trip, because it was laser focused on like viewing why venues and other certain shows do things a certain way, I got so much experience from that.
For sure. And it's funny because, and that was one of your better ideas, from a team perspective, team building and just trying to figure out. I had been not competing, but I had been to, some venues in Europe and competitions, but not that in depth. As you were saying, we got to see behind the scenes of, just to name a couple, Aachen, Valkenswaard, Hicks. I mean, we got to see everything and just
Hamburg, Dublin,
yeah, Dublin, Munster,
Munster
yeah.
and
That
Dublin were
was
going
insane.
on at
Yeah,
the those times. Peelbergen,
Gilbert,
was
yeah.
a relatively new venue at the time, and now
And
it's a
Peelbergen
hub.
actually, yeah, and Peelbergen actually, to me, was one of the cooler venues that for ideas. Like in my
Uh,
head, it just pops up right away in terms of they had metal
layout.
um, beams and scaffolding, and then they had big advertisements on it, and just I mean, they know how to do it. Talk about having to appeal to a bigger audience, Europeans. So again, going and seeing and duplicating things that people do, I don't think is a bad thing. But having the opportunity to go and see, and I think to me it blows my mind, and I tell you this all the time, that people are involved in putting on events in North America that have never been, and I'm talking major events, have never been to see something in Europe, and they're at the head of
It
they're
shows though.
captain of the ship, you know,
It
and
shows. People know what
it, yeah,
who those people are.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was such an incredible trip, and when I look at like what do we do, why do we do, and where do we find our cool ideas from? It always stems from something. It stems from an idea. It stems from thinking of what people might like and think is cool, or it stems from taking a little piece of an idea from somebody else and making it your own, and those kind of things. And I
Well,
think it's
budget
so
was. I was gonna say budget plays a big factor in that, right? We see ideas
obviously.
like you see some really cool ideas, but how can we make a version of that that maybe doesn't cost break the bank and and give it a shot? So
Yeah, and venues that own their own facilities and things like that, and that are having horse shows a million times a year and stuff. Maybe they can afford budgetary to put permanent things in place to have a cool idea or do a cool thing. But I mean, too, like when remember going to Dublin for the horse show, and not a competing capacity, but an exhibitor or a spectator capacity like we did, and see the in-depth stuff about it. I mean, that culture was just so cool. And we're talking cool, like having the
yeah,
bar looking on top of the arena, right next to the arena where people are just getting hammered, for that
yes,
better way to put it. I mean, I know it's Ireland, but the drinks were flowing for everyone. So like, how cool is that? You couldn't even walk, but it's
yeah.
more the culture there just makes that event cool, and the
Great main
tradition,
dates and just the
the
advertisement, what was there,
crowds,
promotional stuff,
so cool,
crowds. Yeah, I mean,
so
you could
cool.
take so much, as we did, take so much from those different venues and see where it factors in. But just I know this isn't the topic, but just concept and having those different things, but just seeing how they do it, you know,
But
and how
cool,
they implement it.
but just cool. I mean,
Yeah.
cool tradition can't be replicated. Cool. So we say to ourselves, how do we replicate that here? And one way we've done really well with is previously known as the Kentucky Invitational during the Land Rover 3-day event, Defender 3-day event. This year it's a 5-star. Cool. Really
Mhm.
cool. Lots of spectators, jammed, lots of shopping. Those are those cool factors in that. Tapping into an existing audience. Cool. Really
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, Pretty comparable there. We went to other venues like Hamburg, and
Mhm.
we got to have a tour of the Hamburg venue with nobody there. Um, Again, so cool for different reasons. Cool because of the tradition. I mean,
Yeah.
that field was amazing. You think of the sport in Germany is so massive. That culture
Mhm.
rallies around the sport a bit more than they do here. And what cool things can they do? Again, their layout in a totally different way, super cool layout.
Yeah.
Like the schooling area actually kind of sucks. The footing didn't look very good. It was small, this and that, but cool because all of the spectators and vendors and everybody are right around it, and it's just like a feeling of closeness and cool. I mean, that's pretty cool. The field was amazing. The setup at the grandstand amazing. The amenities that they had on that grass field, I know the biggest thing there, I believe that their derby is so historic and traditional that that's more watched than anything at that event. The Hamburg Derby is just famous. So the cool things that they incorporate into their classes,
Mhm.
like the Derby, like that's just iconic. Everybody in our sport that does high performance knows the Hamburg Derby. It's just incredible. And riders in Germany, like that's the biggest thing to win. Like they
Yeah.
want to win the Hamburg Derby. Cool. Really, really freaking cool. Um, then we got to go to Aachen, which was mega cool.
Amazing.
Like the coolest. Everybody, whenever we're creating horse shows and we're like, does this meet a certain standard? We're like, we want to be like Aachen. Cool.
Yes.
The coolest. I mean, the biggest stadium for show jumping in our sport. Grass, stabling is very old, traditional, but unique, German again. I think one of the cool things that I saw that we learned from visiting the venue in Aachen was their process for the grass. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember
that was
that
crazy.
first and foremost. They were literally at the time they shaved all the entire top layer off of the grass by a few inches, like cut it off, took it out, all the side. They had put an entire layer of footing. And we saw the process, I think it was 2 weeks after the show. So they had already
Yes.
started it and they had seeded it already and began watering it so much where you could see the hue of those new grass sprouts. I
Yes.
thought that was so cool because I'm a horse show nerd. Like I want to see how they
Mhm.
do things and do all of that. And we're just like, wow, I don't know. That was the first time like I was sort of enlightened to that process of really getting ahead of it and thinking in advance for next year and making it better every year. And the best events do that. I mean, you're talking
Mhm.
about Geneva, you're talking about Spruce Meadows, you're talking about Aachen, you're talking about these major venues that why do people go and watch it all the time? Because they're freaking cool. And they do
Yeah.
all the things right. And they have cool classes. They have cool entertainment. They put it all together. It's just
Yeah.
so cool. And a lot of
So,
those things can't be replicated, without a shit ton of money. They just can't be
yes.
replicated. Again, then there's lots of other things that we do. So that trip, we learned so much, venues, different ideas, different things of ways of doing things that people like. Um, you know, where do we like? What other things that are cool that go into an event that I think people choose events for? Like, things that we do cool, you know, are our ribbons. I mean, I
Mhm.
think our ribbons are better than anybody's. I'm sorry, and other ours, but I think people seek out our ribbons coming to our
Yes.
shows. A lot of people, maybe not at the highest level, but like definitely the lower levels, like it's also about making people feel special and good about
Yes.
themselves and all their hard work is paying off for something and they're getting something to show for it. And I
Mhm.
think that that's what our sport and all sports in general are about. Those awards and getting something to show for your hard work. It doesn't no matter
Mhm.
what the level is. And our ribbons are freaking cool. I'm sorry, but
Yes.
I think our ribbons are the best. I see all other shows we've touched on in previous episodes about people copying us and all that. People have tried to copy our ribbons, create their own designs that are huge and massive and amazing, but they don't compare to ours. And I think it's a combination because ours are traditional and
Mhm.
modern in the same time. Ribbons are cool. Our ribbons are cool.
Yes.
They're just cool, right? Like if I was a rider and I was winning our ribbons back in the day, I would keep those ribbons. And I think something people don't realize about our ribbons that I kind of wanted to explain to people are honestly, if you take the streamer off and you just have the circle, you could tack them into your tack room with just a circle and line them up like people did with those metal plates in the past for winning awards. Um, that's something I want to tell people to do because I think that would be really cool to see a wall in a tack room filled with split rock ribbons because they're so massive and color coordinated. I think that'd be really cool. I don't know, haven't
Definitely.
seen that yet. So all the different awards and people have played on this. Like I don't want to say we're the first. We're not the first. The Olympics are the first, but we were definitely
Yeah,
one of the first ones that made podium presentations a thing in every class, in a lot of classes or feature classes. I mean, that's just freaking cool.
for
Everybody
sure.
copied,
People love that.
copied,
Yeah,
copied, copied, copied
yeah,
again. But whatever, we'll keep doing it. Maybe we have a different spin on it this year. Hopefully, people will see that. It's gonna be cool.
yeah.
Um, yeah, unique awards, man. Like, you know, people made fun of me all the time when I was. And this is where this came from. Made fun of me when I was a professional rider and jump Grand Prix and had clear rounds. I was the king of fist pumps, man. Like I
Yeah.
would just get super excited because I want the crowd to get involved, letting my emotions out a little bit. I thought it was cool. Some people laughed at me, but I made it an award at our shows, and
Yeah.
people win $500 cash, sponsored by a company, gets unbelievable social media presence, all those kind of things. Great
Best bang for
sponsorship
your buck.
activation, one of the best sponsorship activations at our shows. Now I see people going around their victory gallops winning classes and yeah, at other horse shows. I'm like, copied us. We did that. That's cool. That was really
Yeah.
cool. And fist pump award, that's going to keep going at our shows forever. I mean, I just think it's important to show enthusiasm, be excited. Again, all that hard work you put into learning how to ride and stand on that podium and hear your national anthem and get rewarded for all that hard work is so important, and that'll always be cool.
Yeah.
Um Specialty classes too, right? Like
Yeah.
you could talk to
That's
this.
huge.
You've managed so many horse shows that have all different types of classes. Those are cool things. What are cool classes that you think people think are cool and they may come to a horse show for it?
Yeah, I mean, we all know some of the big shows like Washington. Let's just say Washington, for instance, changed a lot since the years. But one of the most popular classes used to be the puissance.
So
Like that
cool.
people went crazy for that because let's be honest, sometimes equestrian sport can be a little bit complicated in terms of people fully understanding what's going on. If you're new to the sport, but you put a puissance wall, everybody gets it. You only have to do one thing:
Yeah.
jump the wall, and you keep going up. And
Well,
so
you're
to me,
talking
that was
cool for spectators. I don't know that that's necessarily people are going to go to a horse show for it, an exhibitor, because
no,
A,
but
it's hard on the horses. There's not a lot of prize money. But if you have a big spectator crowd, you want to do a
sure.
puissance because that is freaking cool. Like, how
But
high can a
but I
horse
will
jump?
say there's people that are
Records.
excited about a puissance. Like maybe not. You're not going to pull people to your horse show for it. But I just
You
said,
have to have a
you know what I mean?
specialty horse. You have to have a
Yeah,
specialty horse for it, but I agree with you. It's so cool. Like if I could have a
yeah.
puissance at every horse show we do, I would do it. We can't do it because people won't
No.
do it, and not everyone has a crowd to think it's cool and everything like that. But such a great point. Like so simple. You keep raising it.
Hmm.
It's the only way to get to a high jump world record that have
Yes.
existed for 40 years because we just don't have them that often anymore. But again,
Yeah.
so cool. Same thing with like a
Hmm.
6 bar. A lot more events
Yeah.
do 6 bars because it's
Yeah.
more accessible. More types of horses can jump them. Again, really cool exhibition type class.
But
Sometimes those
gimmicky as well, right? Like the costume
so
classes and
gimmicky.
stuff like that. But people look forward to it. And as we said, we talked about it in a few episodes back about introducing different, always being innovative, especially with the hunters. We're trying different things, doing, you know, dabbling with, different levels and just changing the format. But
Yeah,
I
but
think
really
it's
cool
always
classes.
important to be innovative. You have to be innovative without
You know
ruffling too
me,
many
like I
feathers.
don't really like to do gimmicky classes at our
No,
events,
no,
almost to a fault. I mean, I know the team has kind of like harped on me for needing to do more of those because people do really enjoy them. It's just a personal preference of like being laser focused and sticking to things that I know we do well and that kind of thing. But maybe that's something we need to incorporate more into our events is I don't want to call them gimmicky classes. They're not stupid.
no, yeah,
It's just like unique ideas to classes that people can, get excited about and have a fresh perspective on and trying new things. It's definitely something we can do better in the past. But what about and into the future, but what about classes that aren't gimmicky, that are freaking cool, that are new and modern, like we've talked about it in other episodes, like you said, the Hunter Grand Prix. Like, I think that that's really cool. I mean, it solves certain problems, I think, in our sport and the hunter sport. The judging gets quicker, takes as much subjectivity out of it. Like, so that cool class solves a lot of problems, I think, and I'm going to keep trying to go with it, and hope it continues to catch on. These specialty classes are definitely classes that bring people in, and people get really excited about it and are cool. And it's
What about the
definitely
championship, right? We tried to do something innovative for Split Rock and create a championship and, an attraction type
give
thing
away 300
because
grand free,
yes. Yeah.
and people
But
didn't want it.
exactly. And it wasn't for lack of trying to come up with something
So
innovative.
what's cool
And
is what you're asking me. Like, what things are cool and what things are not. Clearly, giving out free money wasn't cool enough.
yeah, no,
We did
no.
a champion. So just for people tuning in that don't know what we're talking about, we created what's called a championship series that if you attend a certain amount of shows on our tour, that you get free entry into 3 different levels of $100,000 classes at Terra Nova. And we had 2 years of it. The first year was amazing. And second year, the numbers dropped, literally halved. So basically, we were giving out $300,000 free cash to people that wanted to compete in those, and people didn't. They showed up less and less, and a little bit like the Hunter Grand Prix too. The first year we gave out 150,000, and each year the number stayed the same, like it didn't grow. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but the money in the championship series wasn't cool enough to get them to come do it when we offered it and all those things. So I thought it was cool, but it wasn't cool enough. So on to the next, right?
Spaghetti on the wall, right? Keep
Yeah,
throwing it, see what sticks. That's kind of,
good one. I like that one. Yeah. Um, yeah, and then other things, like what are other things that people think that are cool in our industry that look to events? Like nowadays, more and more, I truly believe that social media and aesthetics and the design of your horse shows, the colors, the logos, the graphics that you do in your streaming, like all those things
such a
go
big factor.
such a big
Such a big
factor
factor.
now, and being cool and building that brand so that people can recognize it, trust it, like it. I mean, it's huge. Back in the day, I was sponsored by a company who was still, I think it's still an amazing company. I don't have high performance horses really anymore, so we don't, use it much anymore, but it was a company called Equithrive, was a longtime partner of mine, through my years in the sport. And I remember having lunch with the owner one day, and he was telling me, he goes, Derek, we're changing our logo and all of our colors. So all the stuff that you have of mine, you're going to have to not use anymore, and get you new stuff. And I'm like, why? I like yours. And then he goes, because I did research on it. And our sport is heavily, um, you know, predominantly women, and women tend to the color brown resonates with women more. I'm like, really? I mean, it just doesn't look good to me. Don't do it. Don't do it. He goes, no, this is research. This is proven facts. It's in the subconscious. So, um, and ended up, I got used to it. I loved his new logo and all that, but like, um, interesting. There's a science behind it too, but the designs and everything's really do play a big factor. Like logos, like if you have an old looking logo, why would people want to buy your cool merch? It's not cool.
Yes.
Then,
Yeah.
and I think for us, like we do, I'm like really brand centric, and it's been a big thing of mine since the beginning with Split Rock. And I want to make sure people love our stuff, love our gear, love our ribbons, love our aesthetic, love our, want to feel proud to wear our stuff. And it's hard to keep innovating in that realm and keep it fresh. Just recently, a year ago, we changed all of our logos, all of them, to a more modern design and different things, just to keep it fresh and keep it updated. So that's definitely a big factor in it. Other cool ideas of learning from other You learn from other events, how people do other signage, how other shows do these things that contribute to that aesthetic and design. Those layouts and everything have to really, really make sense. And I think, first and foremost, cool ideas you can take always more than from anywhere else is from other sports,
100%.
right? You're watching other the biggest one in our sport that people love to like compare it to is like Formula One. Everybody
Yeah.
is saying we're trying to be a Formula One of show jumping, so we're gonna like do all their same graphics and everything. Like,
Yeah.
okay, to some point we know that that model works for them because it's it's an expensive affluent sport, but I think racing is a little bit different than show jumping because I think everybody can hop in a car and feel that adrenaline, and not necessarily everybody can hop on a horse. So it's slightly
Well,
different. Um, but again, like taking little things of like cool design factors, cool ideas. At our first show ever, Mike, I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you remember, first couple shows, I went out and I actually did take this from, motorsports. When people are always, because when I was little, I used to be into dirt bikes. I love dirt bikes. I never raced dirt bikes, but I followed their events, went to a couple of them, that kind of thing. I don't know that many people know that about me, but when you're at an event like that or a motorsport event, you always go to the event, or the drivers or racers or whatever they are, go to the event with like a bike. They go to the event with like a scooter or a bicycle that you can ride around behind the scenes and get to places, easier. And I thought that was really cool. And so I wanted to incorporate that into our first show. So I went out and bought 10 bicycles at Walmart that were in our colors. They were inexpensive because I didn't allow motorized vehicles on our farm, on my farm that had these, and because it was a very small venue and whatnot. So I was like, how am I going to solve this problem that people are going to think it's cool? So we had
yeah.
these stations where people could drop the bicycles, grab one and take one and leave one at their next stop. So we had bike racks all over the place. We bought 10 bikes. People would ride the bicycle up the hill to the show ring, drop the bike. Somebody else could hop on it, drive it to the horse show office. That was really cool. We need to bring that back.
That was great.
That worked so
But it
well. I mean, why did we
it
stop doing that?
bought. I think the bikes were breaking, and there was,
Didn't want to buy new ones.
supposed. I think that was one of the factors, but and some people stole them.
No, 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 no. I don't think we ever got any stolen.
Like you went on
Maybe.
trailers, yes. But it was still a good idea.
Yeah, I mean that's just these are little cool ideas that are memorable, for people. They remember those things, and it plays a huge factor into what people think cool and why they choose horse shows. Again, in any business or any new idea, everything like that, events or people are always looking for a better mousetrap, right? A better mousetrap to make have people feel special, think they're cool, do all those things for events, and it's all about the feeling and the memories that you can create out of an event. Um,
They're catching release traps, right?
yeah, exactly. But I think it's a terminology,
No,
used in innovation.
yes,
You're always trying to find something that works better or feels better for the clients, and it's so true. Um, Also, another factor, like, do we ever have the feeling of we ever run out of ideas? We totally do. We're constantly thinking to
yes,
ourselves, what can we keep doing to entertain people and make people feel that our events are cool and create new things. And I think it's
yes,
important for people to realize that, yeah, we do run out of ideas, and we got to
yes,
come up with other ways to find better ideas and try different things. You joked about throwing the spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks, but it's so true. Like we run out of ideas all the time, and it's hard to come up with new ideas and not stay stagnant in our world
mhm.
in equestrian sports.
It's
And
be relevant, stagnant, because once you become stagnant, it happens so many times. People become comfortable and everything, and I think that it's just gonna keep working the way it is. And if you take that approach, it's not going to be the outcome that you would want. But being innovative, always trying to evolve, and not be afraid of, and like we touched on this thing, be afraid of look at what other people are doing, and put your spin on it, do what you're doing. I think that that's important,
Totally.
and not being so proud that you think your way is the best way, because that's a problem.
Well, and I've had to like curb my mindset in the regard. It's not what I want. I mean, it helps, but it's not what I want. It's not what you want. It's what the exhibitors want. And a lot of times our mindset isn't right and going the right direction. We got to change it. We got to pivot. We got to make sure it's what the majority, it's always a quality horse show does. It's what the majority wants. It's what the majority of our exhibitors and clients want, what they think is cool. And we have to try to strive to provide that for them. And that's the key to running a successful horse show and a long-term event. The basis to all of our topics is it always comes back to that, making sure our clients know that we're looking to do things to make them feel a certain way and have a good experience. And the cool factor definitely plays a big factor in that. And we're going to keep trying to come up with new ideas to give people what they want at our events. And it's not easy, but we'll keep trying. We love it. It's what keeps us on our toes and our creative juices rolling at all times. Creating special, unique, cool events and cool things that go into our events is why we do what we do. I think it's a lot of the reason, the cool factor, if we're talking about cool factors, why a lot of traditional events have failed. I mean, it's a tough conversation to happen, but they didn't evolve. They didn't do cool stuff. They didn't create and come up with new ideas and stick with the times. And
But also quality, right? In terms of their offerings. And I know we say cool and you say it in the general term, but realistically, that cool factor is also quality, right? And it's hand in hand in terms of evolving your product, whether
you're
that's your
talking about
facility.
facility amenities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I believe episode 11, our last episode, was why people choose locations. This one's why people choose things that are cool, and yes, I agree with you that there's way more that goes into an event failing, and we should do an episode on the cancellation and all that. But yeah, cool's part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely part of it.
Well,
And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely coming up with new ideas to make sure people feel a certain way is why we do things the way we do it. And, we always appreciate people coming in to check out our new stuff. This year in 2025, we got some really cool new things coming for people that I'm really, really excited about. I mean, our shows in June, they're going to have some really cool new things. We hope people come and check them out. I know we have Junior Hunter Finals there in our third week in June, and we're going to have such cool activities for people to partake in. And I'm really excited to launch that kind of stuff here later this winter for people. Just trying to always stay ahead of the curve and make people feel great and have a great experience. Mike, thank you so much again for joining me on another episode of HorseShow360 podcast. You can watch full episodes with video on our HorseShow360 podcast YouTube channel, so make sure you hit subscribe on that. Follow us on Instagram, HorseShow360, and you can tune in if you're driving in the car, riding a horse with your AirPods in the morning, on any podcast platform out there, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, all the above. So please tune into all of our podcast platforms. Keep tuning into our podcast platform because we love sharing all these insights with you. And we hope to catch you tuning in next week. Thanks so much.